Because you liked my previous how to vlog video, I am back with some more advanced tips on how to vlog so that you can promote your art on the line. If you haven't already, make sure to check out the previous video up here. My name is Janet, I'm an ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and I've been selling my art online for the past few years. And the thing that's really helped me grow and get consistent sales online was making vlogs. If you like videos like this, make sure to like, jingle, touch all my bells and buttons for new art and entrepreneurship type videos every Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So the number one thing I recommend everyone do in their vlogs to really improve their vlogs and increase your watch time, because if you didn't know already, on YouTube, it's really important to have high watch time, meaning people watch all of your video from beginning to the end. The more watch time that you have, the more likely the YouTube algorithm is going to recommend your content to everyone, basically. And if it recommends it to everyone, you have a higher likelihood of getting purchases from your online store to get eyes on your art or whatever creative side hustle that you do, which hopefully translates to sales. So in order to increase your watch time, camera movement is a really simple way to immediately increase your watch time. I'm going to give you a basic explanation of different types of camera movement, and here's the important part: how to use it in order to increase your watch time, to increase the amount of attention someone gives to you, and to make them addicted to watching your vlogs. So first things first, the push in / push out. And I want to make it clear, this is not zoom in and zoom out. The push in is known as a lot of different terms, but this is basically how I learned it in school, in storyboarding, and the term you typically use in Hollywood. Sometimes it's also called the dolly in and dolly out. But the best way to really show you what a push in and push out is to kind of demonstrate it on a camera. Usually when people are trying to get close up on an object, let's say you're doing a YouTube video or a vlog of you drawing or something, people will take their camera and they'll spin the zoom wheel, or they'll zoom in on their phone. The problem with that is that's not actually how you're supposed to do it, because it changes the perspective of your shot. It does a lot of funky things with perspective and compression in a camera, but if all of that is way too complicated for you, it basically makes the shot look not exactly how you want it and a little bit more amateurish. So let's say you are trying to get a shot of this beautiful plant over here, and you want the shot to start way over here, but then you want to zoom in on a close-up of maybe one of the leaves. So an amateur would zoom in and get that shot of the leaf. But what you're supposed to do in film, in Hollywood, and something that will make your vlogs look a lot more cinematic and a lot more interesting, is to push in. And it can go both ways. You can go in and you can go out. The reason why a push in is one of the most basic camera movements that everyone should use in their vlogs is because the purpose of it is actually to really call attention to whatever you're pushing in on. Zooming in movies and TV shows is actually not used like a push in. Very rarely is it used like that. It actually is used to disorient you. For example, anytime anyone is taking drugs or something in a movie or a TV show, people will use a zoom in, push in or out effect to get a dreamy kind of, oh, things are happening in my mind kind of psychedelic feeling. A push-in is typically used when someone is talking, for example, and you want to really focus in on what the person is saying. And when it's used in Hollywood, when it's used on TV shows and movies, it really sucks the viewer's attention in and goes, listen to what this person is saying, or really look at this object, really admire it or pay attention to it because it is important. When you're doing this camera movement in a vlog, it does the exact same thing, which means more people are going to watch your video for longer. If you're just talking about something, if you do a very subtle push in or push out, people are more likely to linger on and listen to what it is you're saying. Or if you're showcasing an object like I just showed you, it really makes people really pay attention to whatever it is you're showing them. The second camera movement that I want to talk about is the pan. And I'm talking about horizontal, vertical, and diagonal pans. This type of camera movement shot is typically used to direct your attention somewhere else. It's a great way to transition from one scene to the next, or from one object to the next, or from one person to the next person. A horizontal pan is exactly what it sounds like. It is a camera movement that starts on the left or from the right. It doesn't really matter, but it starts here and you start recording, and it moves all the way to the other side and stop recording. A vertical pan is the same thing, but vertically, up and down, and a diagonal pan is, again, the same exact thing, but diagonally in whichever way. This is something that doesn't move forward and back, because that would be a dolly in or out or a push in or out. It's mostly on the X and Y axis. In my previous filmmaking type how-to vlog videos, I've talked about how it's really hard for some people to figure out how to transition from one scene to the next. Pans are a great way of doing that. Pans are typically used in movies and TV shows to really showcase a space, a new environment that the character is in. The trick with using pans really well is not using the same one over and over and over again right next to each other. When I was working as a storyboard artist in animation and for commercials and stuff, pans were essential. I've said this before, but pans are typically used practically every other shot, every 2 seconds in a movie or TV show. Typically, the way to tell if a storyboard artist is a little bit inexperienced is if there is a lack of pans, because it's actually really hard to do a still shot really well. As an artist, I can get really nerdy about this, but I actually really love still shots. But it's kind of like photography. When a filmmaker does still shot to still shot to still shot, if the shot is really well composed, it looks like a beautiful photo where everything is exactly where it's supposed to be. Everything is beautifully placed in the frame, and when you place beautiful image next to beautiful image next to beautiful image, it can be a really beautiful way of telling a story. But when you think about that, when you're vlogging, that's not exactly what a vlogger does. You don't set up a shot and then compose the entire image so it looks like a photograph, especially not every single shot. That would defeat the purpose of vlogging. It would take too long, and it's just not practical. Pans make it so it keeps your attention, and it's actually quite difficult to be that artistic about every single shot. That's why I say having too many still shots and not enough pans typically makes you look like an inexperienced filmmaker. By adding pans everywhere, it tells the viewer that you are in good hands, that you are a competent filmmaker, and you can hold their attention. The next camera movement that I want to talk about is the tilt. The tilt is basically when you tilt the camera up or when you tilt the camera down. So let's talk about what this kind of camera movement is typically used for. One, for dominance. Usually when you see it in a movie or TV show, you're tilting the camera up. You're typically in a perspective of a person looking up at someone or something. So it makes you feel small. It makes you feel insecure almost, or you're being oppressed by some kind of dominant figure or atmosphere even. When the camera is tilted down in movies or TV shows, it typically means that you are dominating someone else. You're looking down on something or someone else. Whether it's a pet, a person, an object, you are looking down at something. Another way it's typically used in Hollywood, and it's a way that I tend to use it the most when I am storyboarding or in my own vlogs, is landing in or exiting. It can also, just like the pan, be used as a transition from scene to scene. So let's say you're vlogging and you are in your house, but the next scene is you are going to be at the beach. To transition from being at the house to the beach, you can quickly just set up a shot when you're at the beach with the camera pointing up at the sky and then tilting down to a scene of the beach. That is a really epic and really cool way of transitioning your audience, your viewers, and landing them into the next scene. It's also a great way to go out. If you're talking to the camera, you're at the beach, and you want to transition back to your home all of a sudden, you can tilt the camera up and then land back in, and it kind of signals to the viewer that you are going out. You're going out of this scene into the next scene. But I would warn to be careful with this shot because it is so epic and a little bit unusual, to be honest, that you shouldn't use this too often. I gravitate more towards the pans. Most storyboard artists, filmmakers gravitate to the pan a lot more. If you want to spice it up a little bit, you've been using pans way too much, then tilt ups and downs work as well. I would avoid using tilt ups and downs too much because it can make the viewer a little bit confused, or it just looks a little bit gimmicky if you use it too much. The next camera movement that will really step up your vlogs and keep people's attention is the tracking shot. This shot is called a lot of different names, but it's basically when the camera is tracking whatever. It follows whatever movement. So instead of moving the camera, so that would mean you are pointing the camera at yourself and you're holding it there as you are walking somewhere. Or you have a friend follow you with the camera and record you. Storyboard artists typically use this in movies, TV shows, and commercials to direct the eye to whatever action is happening. The feeling a storyboard artist or director is trying to evoke is that they're taking you on a journey. It basically feels like you're grabbing your friend's hand and taking them with you on this amazing adventure. And that's the thing about vlogs. The reason why a lot of people watch them is because they want to be taken on a journey. There's an aspect of escapism to it. You're basically taking someone on a journey through a day in your life. Tracking shots are used a lot in vlogs because that's basically what vlogs are all about. I think I really don't use the tracking shot enough, and I really should. I really should do the whole vlogger thing and point the camera at myself and walk around and do things as I speak to camera, because that's something truly unique to vlogging that isn't really there in commercials, TV shows, and movies. You might see these type of tracking shots, for example, in Black Swan, but it's not really used in the same way because in movies and TV shows, the camera is supposed to be invisible. You're supposed to not really pay attention to the camera. That's why you don't break through the fourth wall and talk directly to camera very often. And if it does, like in Fight Club, it is doing it for a very stylistic reason. But with vlogs, it's a completely different medium. So if you are a filmmaker trying to transition to vlogging, it's okay to use a lot more tracking shots, even if honestly, it feels a little bit unprofessional in the lens of a storyboard artist or a filmmaker, specifically because it is more suited to YouTube. My next camera movement tip actually isn't a camera movement, it's the most important tip that I can give you with all of this, and it's basically to use all of these camera movements I just explained to you comedically. Comedy is the lifeblood of internet content. If you haven't already noticed, if you can make them laugh, even if you can't and you fail at a really bad dad joke or pun or something, that's endearing unto itself. Whether you like it or not, when you're on YouTube, you're here to entertain. Comedy is the fastest way to get your viewers to like and trust you, and it's a great way to keep someone's attention. But that is easier said than done because most of us are not comedians. Most of us probably don't consider ourselves funny. I definitely don't think I am very funny. In fact, I always say I think people laugh at me, not with me. But a great way that I found that can kind of make up for all of that while you make up for your lack of personality or comedic timing is to do it with the camera. So for example, in a lot of movies, TV shows, The Office, for example, a lot of directors and storyboard artists will use pans and very quick pans to a comedic moment. Let's say you are doing something in a vlog and something ridiculous is happening off to the side, off camera. You can pan to that and it's a comedic break. The faster the pan, typically the more funny the moment. The way you can use push ins and outs comedically is basically how fast and how dramatic the difference in the in and the out. So if you push in all the way to someone's face after they say something, typically it's because you're really emphasizing what they're saying, and typically it's something funny. How to use tilts comedically is to reveal something funny. Similar to the pan, when you're panning over to something kind of hilarious, that's what in Hollywood we would call a reveal. Tilt can be used the exact same way. With tracking shots, I would say that's the least comedic use of a shot because it kind of relies on the person that your camera is tracking. So it kind of relies that you are doing something ridiculous, and that's what they are tracking. This is actually something I noticed YouTubers like Emma Chamberlain do pretty often, and I think it's absolutely hilarious. So to recap, to make your vlogs better, make sure to add camera movements like push in and out, pans, tracking shots, tilt ups and downs. If you do that, the watch time on your videos are bound to skyrocket. And when they do, hopefully you will get more views, more subscribers on YouTube, and you get more people really interested in who you are, what you do, and hopefully more sales for your art or whatever creative passion that it is you're monetizing. If you want to learn more about how to use social media to grow your online business, check out my free guide, 8 steps to launch your online store. Head over to honeyandabsinthe.com to help support this channel by buying some merch. Check out these videos next to learn more about how to grow on social media. If you like the video, make sure to like the video, jingle all my bells and buttons, help me feed the algorithm, and don't forget to dare to dream.